Good evening. We present the news summary. 36 new cases of COVID-19 were recorded since the last update, bringing the total number of cases recorded in Seychelles to 1,069. These are from reports of the last 2 days. Of the new cases, 31 are Seychellois, 3 are GOP holders, and 2 are visitors. They are all from Mahé. As of next month, there'll be a reduction in the allowance for the nearly 1,800 people who are on the unemployment relief scheme, and the scheme will also phase out. This forms part of the restructuring of the program announced by President from Kalawan in his State of the Nation address on Friday. Speaking during a press conference, the Director General for Employment Promotion, LETIMIE DOOKLEY, said that at the end of this month, every person who are on the program will receive the same allowance of that of December.
In February, there'll be a cut in the allowance. It will be 3,500 only, and this will be the last payment because 1st of March, the unemployment relief scheme will phase out. So we are encouraging everybody to look for a job, to look for a permanent employment. At the same time, the employment department will assist them to secure employment. And we're also working in close collaboration with the employers for different vacancies that they have, so that we can ensure that everybody is aware of different opportunities on the labor market.
The CEO of Seychelles has given its reaction on the declaration made by President from Kalawan in his message on the state of the nation regarding the national airline. Mr. REMCO ALTHIUS says he believes the declaration that the government can no longer sustain the company and that there is a need for the company to be restructured is an invitation for a dialogue to review the future of Seychelles.
To me, it is obvious that the country and the economy is going to dire straits, and I really see it as an invitation to engage in a dialogue, to really review what the options are for Air Seychelles going forward. And as such, I believe that is the right thing to do. The debt is clearly a problem and it needs to be dealt with. The debt falls in two categories. One is debt to Etihad, which is being renegotiated, and Etihad has offered a discount of $61 million on their piece of the debt. And the second piece of debt is with the bondholders, which is debt that was taken on 5 years ago to fund the loss-making long-haul operations to Paris, to Hong Kong, other European cities. So there are two different elements in the story. One is the debt from the past, and then Air Seychelles going forward. And I understand the dilemma at this moment in time, but we need to separate the two. Clearly, the debt needs to be made as small as possible. Thus, both Air Seychelles and the government reaching out with the creditors to see if it can be renegotiated, which in the case of Etihad has been successful, and with the bondholders is ongoing. Operationally and going forward, we as the management team have to demonstrate that there is a business case for Air Seychelles, meaning that the business itself can generate enough money so as to no longer be a burden on the government and on the taxpayers.
The Seychelles police say they have made several arrests since Saturday when the Ministry of Health reinforced existing restrictions and announced new ones. Public Relations Manager TOUSSAINT says they have been enforcing the law since last year in March when the first restrictions on movement were imposed in the country. He says several people were arrested and taken to court where fines between 2,000 and 10,000 rupees were imposed for the offences.
As from Wednesday, the 27th of January, the police will be reopening its reception desk at...
We present excuse for the extract. In fact, the extract follows this news item. The police also said they are reopening their office for members of the public wanting to obtain their police record or driving license. This is especially for those looking for employment, but restrictions on visits to family members in jail remains the same until further notice.
As from Wednesday, the 27th of January, the police will be reopening its reception desk at central headquarters to facilitate members of the public who are looking for card certificates, and maybe if, for example, the driving lessons are ongoing with those learners, so they'll be processing fees for learner's permit also. So you'll have to call 4288062, that's the reception office, for you to get an appointment, so you'll be told as to when to report for these documents.
The leader of the opposition in the National Assembly, Sebastien PILLAY, says that this year's State of the Nation address did not really address the State of the Nation. In his response this morning to the State of the Nation address, he said he sees the State of the Nation as one with many uncertainties. Mr. PILLAY spoke about drugs, FA4GR, the state of Seychelles, and the current COVID-19 situation, amongst other issues.
It was, I think, too focused on admonishing not only the population but also admonishing criticism. A new term has been introduced, which is incitement, which I feel when you look at what the democratic virtues expounded in our constitution, these statements that were made in the State of the Nation address go in fact against what the constitution says. I believe that we need to clarify and make sure that incitement does not become the new byword which is used to stop people from expressing themselves. I also feel that in relation to the true State of the Nation, the President did not talk about prevailing issues that are affecting us. For example, cost of living. There was no mention of the cost of living and what are the intentions of government to help us overcome the situation with cost of living. They had been mentioned previously regarding the salaries of employees in the public sector. Again, in the State of the Nation address, whilst the President did mention this at the beginning of the year, there was no mention of this. So I feel that there should have been a more focus on what the country is going through. As you can understand, we have maintained the position that the country needs to lock down and needs to put in place stringent measures so that we can vaccinate.
And for his part, the leader of the government business, Bernard Georges, says President Ramkalawan spoke in a frank manner. Mr. Georges said that the speech was meant to get people to realize the real state of the nation.
I think the circumstances required a strong, blunt message to shock the population into realizing exactly how bad the situation is. And I think in that respect, the President hit the right tone and he picked the right manner in which to do it, because he actually did what he set out to do. He shocked everybody into realizing that the situation is critical. There were two ways of doing it. One is the traditional way, where you speak about all the ministries and you explain what they're going to do, which nobody really listens to, and then everybody feels good and goes home. And the other one was to draw a line under the past and to say, guys, the situation is different. We are now going to have to tackle things in a much different way. And I think this was the message, and it was clearly and well delivered.
And the National Assembly continued its sessions late this afternoon, despite the fact that the opposition U.S. members staged a walkout. It followed the refusal by the U.S. proportionately elected member, Johan Lose, to demand an apology for interrupting the president in his State of the Nation address last week. Earlier, members of the National Assembly also had their say on the president's message on the State of the Nation. Both sides raised issues the president brought up, including, amongst others, the country's crumbling economy as a result of COVID-19, as well as what some members perceived as victimization in the civil service. This was the news summary. Thank you for your attention.